Why would I buy an emulation device in a Portal when I can do both on the Steam Deck? Why would I even spend money on a Steam Deck when I have a gaming PC or I can get a better gaming handheld? Let me use this Apple to explain. As someone who has kids now, life changes dramatically, and snacks are always a thing we have to take care of. When I was a single man, when I was just a married man even, eating an apple was simple. I just eat the apple. Everything is good. No problems. But then I introduce a new variable. Kids. And with kids, different things happen. One might want to have the apple peeled because they don't like the skin, it's too rough. Fine, that's okay. And so we take a chef's knife, which is very, very versatile. This can do everything in the kitchen, from chopping to dicing to cutting meats and vegetables. You can take your chef's knife and you can peel the apple. This can do every single thing you want it to, except not really easily. If I try to peel my apple with my chef's knife, I might find myself in a situation where it's just not the easiest. I'm getting little spots here, I'm not getting the cleanest cut, and while I don't mind skin, this is not really using the easiest method to do the job. It might end up taking longer, and the experience overall leaves me going, I'd rather not just eat apples. The chef's knife for me is like a Lenovo Legion Go, or an Asus ROG Ally, or just a gaming laptop. While it can do everything, and a lot of things it can do really, really well, I find myself in a position where the experience as a whole isn't particularly the most exciting, and it just takes a little extra finesse. Well, let's make it a little bit more simple. Let's use a paring knife. Smaller, more nimble. Can't do as much in the kitchen, but boy, when it comes to doing stuff like this is what it was designed to do. Small little cuts. I could peel an apple really easily this way. Just kind of work my way through, and look at that. Nice big peel. Not as difficult. Now, I'm sure someone with the right amount of skill and the right amount of practice can get a chef's knife to do the same thing, but for me, a paring knife does just the job, and I have that flexibility to do the job pretty well. But again, this isn't the simplest, but it does the job well. Well, I look at this, and I look at this as the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck does gaming extremely well. It doesn't do very specific jobs super well, and you do have to compromise in some things, but man, peeling an apple with a paring knife is incredible. Emulation, you're good. You can do you can cut this apple easily with this paring knife. You can peel it with the paring knife. Emulation, great. Kiyaki for deck, awesome. But still, it's not the best combination. Because if I had bigger jobs, a bigger apple rather, it might not be the most fun to do. Well, again, with practice, of course, you can do everything. Well, what other tools do we have in the drawer for this apple? And this is where we start getting into multi-tools. Or not multi-tools, but single-use tools. A peeler. This peeler does the job really well. Not only does it do it really well, but anybody can do this. Anyone under the sun can use a peeler to peel an apple. No problems here, just peeling an apple. Super easy. Now, what is a peeler to me? This, for me, is an emulation device. This right here does the job, one specific job. It is extremely easy, it's super useful, it's compact, and it doesn't take up space in my whole kitchen. Throw it in a drawer, it can be as fancy as an OXO one, as non-fancy as just a metal one, but a peeler peels potatoes, apples, everything, super crazy easy. Once you have all the peeling done, you sit there and go, okay, well, now I have to divvy this up because my kid isn't going to eat the apple like this, because now it gets sugary mess everywhere. Well, what is going to happen now? Well, simple. We have to cut it. How do we cut the apple? We can go back and use all of the different tools that we used, or we can oversimplify the method and do something that is unbelievably unnecessary, but user-friendly to the max. And that is a slicer. You simply put it over the apple, start pressing down, and voila, you have apple slices. Easy peasy. Now, I personally prefer to have maybe some skin on there because I like the skin and there's a lot of good nutrients in the skin, but you get what I'm trying to say. When it comes to gaming devices as a whole, I look at them as tools. I look at them as ways to access my library in such a way that is enjoyable. As time has gone on and devices have released, and I am someone who has been playing with a lot of these devices, I look at this very, very critically. I look at each one of these devices understanding the expendable nature of all of them. I understand the limitations of something like a Steam Deck. Power and I guess flexibility with certain games. You can't use the Epic Store launcher as easily. You can't do certain things on there. I understand that. I know that. And much like a chef's knife, I know that I'm not going to be running to my chef's knife to peel an orange when I can just as easily grab a peeler or a paring knife to do the job. It is the understanding of the tools in the toolbox that makes the experience ever more exciting. And as someone who cooks regularly and who is always looking to prepare meals as fast and as efficiently as possible because the time I have on my hands is very limited with children, it is important for me to be able to have tools that do the job quick and easy. Sure, it costs me extra money to purchase a paring knife as well as a peeler and have a good chef's knife. I understand that. But when it comes to doing the job, it does the job phenomenally. I can do all the things I need to do very quickly, and with having all the tools in the kitchen, I am able to do the job in a somewhat pleasant fashion, especially after a long day when I'm running around with kids who have snot coming out of their nose because they're sick or one of them's teething, so it's just a ridiculous amount of drool. I want to be able to do the job I'm supposed to do. Create a meal that's nutritious, healthy, and exciting to eat, and do it fast, easy, and have all the tools at my fingertips. And so when it comes to my loadout, the specific devices that I use here, I'm looking at this as the perfect combo. Now, I have omitted the Nintendo Switch because the Nintendo Switch in its own right is just a very specific tool for a very specific job. Can the Steam Deck emulate Switch? Yes, it can. Should you emulate the Switch on the Steam Deck? That is up to you. Do you need a Switch to play Switch games? I believe first-party hardware is important, so I say yes, but that is up to you. Again, it is the very same kind of thing of peeling an apple with a chef's knife, playing Switch games on a Steam Deck. Sure, the chef's knife is sharper than a peeler. Sure, the chef's knife can do a lot more than the peeler, but still, in doing so, you have a experience that is a little bit more convoluted. You have to extract the ROM file and this, that, and the other. And I think that at the end of the day, it's just easier to use something like Nintendo Switch. But when looking at these other devices and reading comments like, what a waste of money, how redundant, this guy is using a PlayStation Portal, it is only able to do one job and it doesn't even do it well, I understand the job in my whole gaming situation. If I was to go camping, I wouldn't bring 15 knives with me to do a dinner. I would bring a really, really good knife and a multi-tool, and I'd be able to do just about anything I need to do, from opening cans to cutting vegetables to moving around stuff at the campsite, fixing stuff at the campsite. That is what I look at the Steam Deck as being. But when I'm home, when life is normal and I'm functioning in a somewhat consistent space, why wouldn't I use all the tools at my fingertips? Why wouldn't I utilize some of the really cool tools that exist out there? Sure, some of them seem redundant in a way, but why wouldn't I use them to do the job? When I look at something like the PlayStation Portal, I understand that you can achieve just about the same experience on your Steam Deck with something called Kiyaki for Deck. But in doing so, you have to work around a few things that I'm not the biggest fan of. One, the biggest one, is you have to give out a lot of information to a third party to have them access your, your PlayStation network and be able to cast that to your Steam Deck. We got one, so that's Amber. I, for one, don't love that. I don't think that is the most exciting thing when I have to just sign into third parties that way. But on top of that, you have to go in and set it up, which setting up is its own thing. And again, you can very well peel an apple with a paring knife. And some would argue that is the job of the paring knife, and I'd say Kiyaki for Deck is a very, very good example of something that works very well on the Steam Deck, but still, I personally would rather use a tool that is designed to do the exact job that I'm looking for, which is just playing my PlayStation 5 anywhere in my house. Very simply, with, of course, first-party controls and first-party hardware. DualSense. This, some would look at it and be like, this is so unbelievably redundant. Emulation on the deck is incredible. You can play more games on the deck. This seems so bizarre that you would hold on to this when you can do just about anything here on the Steam Deck. And I would say, yeah, sure, that may be true, but this is so useful when it comes to portability. When I just want to play through a couple games, Game Boy Advance games, this has them right here, and this fits very easily in my pocket. Whether it's this one, the SP, an emulation style machine does the job extremely well. And that would be something that I would relate to, again, a paring knife or a peeler. It's just so easy to use, and it is very, very specific tool, very, very, very specific job. Now, here's the thing. You can do a lot of things and push the boundaries. Can I eat a full steak dinner using a paring knife? Absolutely. Is it going to be the best experience when it comes to cutting the steak? It's probably going to be inconsequential, but as time goes on, that paring knife is going to lose its edge. That paring knife is going to lose and get dull and be overused, when in reality, you should use something like a serrated steak knife to cut the steak, because it's going to cut through the fibers and you're going to have just a overall better experience with that. And using a tool that is designed to do a job a specific way, it is going to wear down better. And that really comes down to the hardware. What hardware are you using and how are you using it? If you're using extremely high intense, high power things on your devices, you are going to end up taxing the battery more, getting stuff that the heat might get overwhelming to certain extents. Asus ROG Ally having an issue with that. But you're going to run into problems because you are pushing the boundaries of these devices. Now, I'm not saying that running Kiyaki for Deck and playing a high-performance game on a Steam Deck is a problem. No, it's designed to play games. But simply what I'm saying is, when you're pushing a device, when you're pushing these things to a certain extent, in pushing them past the boundaries of what they're supposed to be utilized for, or what they've been designed to be utilized for, you end up getting into a situation where you might dull the experience, much as if you were using a chef's knife for 100% of your whole kitchen, from cutting things, cutting potatoes and carrots with a chef knife, to anything, cutting bones with a chef knife instead of using a cleaver. Can it do it? Yes, you can push through, but there are better tools for the job that are designed to withstand certain times and certain things. Now, can you use a cleaver to dice an onion? You sure can. Is that overkill? It certainly is, unless you're on Instagram and you want to be some weird cleaver guy. But that being said, sometimes the more nimble of the tools is going to give you a better experience. And that is why I look at something like an emulation device for the very, very thing. I prefer to use devices that do a job extremely well when it comes to my gaming experience, because I am someone who benefits from having a device ready to go. If I am running Kiyaki for Deck on my Steam Deck, it is running an application. That application will be running, and if I want to jump into a different game, I will have to close that application and open a different game. Now, if every single one of my devices is specifically used for a specific purpose, I can hop in to Final Fantasy X on my Steam Deck, I can get into Kingdom Hearts for the time being on my Portal, and I can easily jump into Pokemon. Well, what am I playing? I was going to say Fire Red, but I'm not. I'm playing Pokemon Ruby on my Ambernick, and everything is good. And if I want to get onto my Nintendo Switch, I can get on my Nintendo Switch and play Mario Kart or whatever. These things are so convenient in a life where I have so many things happening at once. The grab and go is so valuable to me. And much like someone who cooks on a regular basis in their kitchen, the tools that they have at their fingertips is going to give them an experience that allows them to cook and be free in their decisions. And of course, it all comes at a cost, right? But when you are in the kitchen cooking and you have a chef's knife, a paring knife, a bread knife, a cleaver, as well as a peeler and a zester, all these things, you are able to do the job quickly, efficiently, well, and even better yet, if you know how to use those different tools in your kitchen, you are going to be able to create things and experience something that is just going to be a little bit more refined rather than doing it all with one tool. Is it impressive to see someone cook a whole meal with just one chef's knife? Oh, sure. I'm someone who uses cast iron for everything, and I can cook anything from a frittata all the way up to a, I don't know, dessert in my cast iron. Anything in between, from steaks to pasta sauces, you name it, my cast iron can do it. But yes, there are better tools for the job, and just one cast iron when trying to cook a few courses is going to lend itself to a somewhat less ideal cooking experience. And I look at these that way. Yes, I can cook the pasta sauce, dump the pasta sauce off, keep it warm, and then start cooking something else in there. But what happens if now I have 2 pans? Now I can do 2 things at once. What happens if I have 3? What happens if I have a saucepan and a pot, right? So when it comes to these devices, I look at it very much so like I look at my kitchen. I have devices to do the job very, very well. Now there are most certainly unnecessary devices in there too. Super unnecessary. And when I looked at the beginning and I said I took a bite out of the apple, I was a single man, I didn't talk about what that represents. That represents sitting and having whatever you want at whatever time, because you don't have to share anything with anyone. You can just take a bite out of an apple and leave it there for a while and then finish it later because no one needs it. But that, unfortunately, isn't the way things go when your life gets more complicated with careers, relationships, and children. So I thought about this today as I read those comments. I hope that it resonates in some way for you. I'm going to finish this coffee. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. I might. It's not my first cup of coffee today, but I thought about the apple thing. It's kind of fun. All right. As always, guys, happy gaming.